In Shushan, the capital city, King Ahasuerus sat on his throne. He reigned over 127 countries. In the third year of his reign, he made a feast for all his nobles and officials, a great celebration lasting 180 days, during which he showed off his wealth. At the culmination of the feast, I am the king's messenger. The king is inviting all residents of Shushan to a great 7-day celebration held in the enclosed garden of the king's palace. The Jews of Shushan were also planning to attend the party, but Mordecai, the great sage, warned them. No, no, no! Hashem does not want you to go to this party! This is a party of non-Jews! For a whole week, the people of Shushan celebrated in the royal courtyard. The Jews did not listen to Mordecai, and they also showed up at the party.
L'chaim.
And the Goyim went wild and got drunk as they always do. Also Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal palace. On the last day of the feast, King Ahasuerus commanded Queen Vashti to be brought before him. Queen Vashti was very wicked. She would force her Jewish maidservants to do all kinds of forbidden work on Shabbat.
I can't fry an egg today. Today is our Shabbat, a covenant between us and our God.
I don't care about your God and his Shabbat. If you don't listen to me right away, I'll make sure you are killed.
Father in heaven, you know I don't want to do this, but in your Torah it says that if your life is in danger, you must violate the Shabbat.
Help! What groove there? I, the God of the Jews, punished me.
The king is calling you.
No! They'll see my tail. They'll see my tail. They'll see my tail.
Vashti refused to come. Ahasuerus became furious. How dare she? Dear advisors, Vashti refused to follow my order. How shall I punish her? And Minister Memuchan said to the king,
I advise that His Majesty the King will put Queen Vashti to death, and the king's decree should be posted throughout the entire empire, and then all women will respect their husbands.
And the king did as Memuchan had advised. I can't believe what I just did. Now I was left with no queen.
Don't worry, Your Honor. We'll bring you girls from all over your kingdom, and you'll be able to choose a new queen.
That is a great idea. And the guards started gathering the girls. Mordecai had a niece named Esther. When her parents died, Mordecai adopted her. In the name of the king, you must come with us right now. In the woman's palace, all the girls were preparing themselves excitedly to meet the king. Esther was the only one sitting on the side.
Father in heaven, please help me stay righteous.
Every day Mordecai would take a walk near the women's palace so that Esther would feel cared for. Every girl had a turn to meet the king, but none of them found favor in his eyes. Only when Esther's turn came, he liked her and he put the crown on her head. And Ahasuerus made a party in honor of Esther, and all along he tried to convince her to tell him what nation she is from. But she didn't tell him because Mordecai told her not to let anyone know that she is Jewish. On Esther's recommendation, the king appointed Mordecai to judge the people at the king's gate. And God revealed to Mordecai through prophecy. The two of the king's guards, Bigtan and Teresh, are planning on poisoning the king. And Mordecai rushed to tell Esther before the king drinks from the poison.
Your Majesty, Mordecai informed me that Bigtan and Teresh are planning on poisoning the king.
Really? Go check if that's true. Go ahead, hang them on the tree. And it was written in the book of the Chronicles in the king's presence. Mordecai saved the king from death by disclosing the scheme of Bigtan and Teresh.
Listen, everyone. Haman was appointed prime minister, and the king commanded everyone who sees Haman must bow down to him.
Everyone bowed down to Haman except for Mordecai. He refused because Haman would hide a statue in his clothes so that everyone that bows down to him will commit the sin of idolatry. When Haman understood what's going on, he was furious.
I wanna kill Mordecai so badly. Not only him, all the Jews.
To find out if his plan would succeed, Haman drew lots. On the first lot, Haman used 3 dice, and he was so happy that on the first throw they came out 133, which corresponds to the Hebrew letters of Haman's ancestor Agag. Haman then cast lots to determine the date of the massacre, and the lot fell on the 13th day of the 12th month Adar. Now the time has come to convince the king.
Your Majesty, there is one nation in your kingdom that is so different from us. They claim to be better than us. If the king lets me, I'll take care of the problem. Let a decree be issued to destroy them, and I'll pay your honor lots of money.
The money can stay with you, and this nation, do with him whatever you want. Ha 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 ha. And the king gave Haman his ring with the royal seal so that Haman can write in the king's name whatever he pleases against the Jews. And Haman excitedly sent lots of letters sealed by the king's ring to all the king's countries. And in the letters it said, everyone should be ready on the 13th of Adar to kill all the Jews and steal their possessions. And the king and Haman sat down to celebrate and get drunk. When Mordecai heard about the letters, he tore his clothes in sorrow, wore a sackcloth, and covered his head with ashes. He wept and prayed to God to save the Jews. And the Jews also joined Mordecai in mourning, fasting, and weeping. Esther's maidservants and slaves came and told her,
Mordecai is on the street facing the king's gate, dressed in sackcloths. Oy vey! No one is allowed to enter the king's gate wearing sackcloth. Hurry! Bring this to Mordecai!
but Mordecai refused to accept the clothing. So Esther commanded Atach, her righteous servant, to go and ask Mordecai what is going on. Mordecai sent him back to tell Esther everything that happened and that she must go to the king and plead with him to cancel the decree.
Tell Mordecai that whoever goes to the king without being invited, the law is that he must be put to death immediately. The king has not called me for the past 30 days. He will probably call me soon.
No, no, no! Now all the Jews are returning to God. They're repenting. This is the right time. That's why God has appointed you to be the queen.
Tell Mordecai to gather all the Jews in the city and fast with them for 3 days on my behalf. And I will also fast with my maidservants, and then I'll go to the king.
And Mordecai did exactly as Esther told him. On the 3rd day, Esther stood in the doorway of the palace, and the king, who was sitting on his throne, miraculously, instead of being angry that she came without permission, he extended to her the golden scepter that was in his hand, and she approached and touched the tip of the scepter. Now, tell me, Esther, what's your request?
your majesty is kind enough to grant my request, I would like the king and Haman to come today to the feast I have prepared, and there I'll tell the king what's my request.
Hurry! Tell Haman to come! At Esther's party, the king asked her again, "Now, tell me, Esther, what's your request?"
If your majesty is kind enough to grant my request, I would like the king and Haman to come again to the feast I will prepare tomorrow, and there I'll tell the king what's my request.
And Haman went home after the party, all happy and satisfied. But when he saw Mordecai and how he didn't bow down to him again, he got so furious.
Listen, friends. Listen, my wife Zeresh. I am an important and respected minister. I have many sons and lots of money. Even Queen Esther let no one but me and the king himself come to the feast she prepared. And tomorrow I'm invited again to join a party with the king. And all this is worthless when I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate.
We suggest that you prepare a tall tree and tomorrow ask the king to hang Mordecai on it, and then go with the king to the party and enjoy yourself.
At the royal palace, the king is unable to fall asleep. Every time he falls asleep, he wakes up terrified because of a terrible dream that Haman is trying to kill him. Bring me the book of the Chronicles right away, and we'll see what's written there. Maybe someone did me a favor and I didn't reward him.
Your Majesty, it says that Mordecai saved the king from death by discovering the plot of Bigtan and Teresh.
What has been done to reward Mordecai for this?
Your Majesty, nothing has been done for him.
Wait, who's in the yard? And Haman had just arrived to ask the king to hang Mordecai on the tree. Oh, Haman? Well, tell him to come. Tell me, Haman, what should be done for a man the king wants to honor?
Whom would the king want to honor more than me? A man whom the king wishes to honor? One of the king's ministers dresses him in the royal garb and puts on him the king's crown, leads him on the royal horse, and calls before him. This is what is done for a man whom the king wishes to honor.
Hurry, now you take the horse and clothes and do just as you said to Mordecai the Jew. And Haman didn't have a choice.
This is what is done for a man whom the king wishes to honor. This is what is done for a man whom the king wishes to honor. This is what is done for a man whom the king wishes to honor.
And now they passed by Haman's house. In Haman's house, his daughter is looking out the window, and by God's miracle, she gets confused.
Here is my dad on the horseback, and Mordecai, the Jew, is leading him. Oh, I have an idea.
And Haman came home with his face covered in shame.
Zeresh, friends, listen to what just happened.
If Mordecai is a Jew, you will never win. You will lose completely.
In the name of the king, come with us immediately to Esther's party. At Esther's party, the king asked her again, "Now, tell me, Esther, what's your request?"
I am now begging for my life and for the life of all my nation. We have been sold to a wicked person who doesn't care what damage will be caused to the king. He doesn't plan to make us slaves. He wants to kill us all.
Who is that? How dare he?
The wicked and evil enemy, Haman.
And the king rushed to the garden to calm down, and Haman understood that his end has come. And God made a miracle that it seemed to the king that Haman's children were destroying his garden, and he returned to the palace even angrier. And then Harvona said,
Your Majesty, to top it all off, that Haman also prepared a tree to hang Mordecai who saved the king's life.
"Go ahead, hang him on the tree." and the king gave Esther Haman's house. Esther told the king that Mordecai is her uncle, so the king gave Mordecai his ring with the royal seal that Haman had. Esther fell at the feet of the king and pleaded with tears that he should cancel Haman's decree to kill the Jews. And the king extended to Esther the golden scepter, and she stood up.
Please, will the king write that Haman's decree is cancelled? Because how can I see my nation die?
Listen, Mordecai and Esther, in the laws of Persia it is written that it's impossible to annul a decree that was signed with the king's ring, but I permit you to write new decree for the benefit of the Jews. And Mordecai hurried to send messengers to all the countries in the kingdom holding letters signed with the king's ring saying, on the 13th of Adar the Jews are allowed to kill all their enemies. Mordecai left the king in a royal garb and the Jews rejoiced. And the non-Jews were so afraid that they rushed to convert. And God made a miracle that the non-Jews did not even try to fight the Jews, and the Jews did to their enemies as they pleased. At Esther's request, the king allowed the Jews of Shushan to kill their enemies on the next day too, and to hang Haman's 10 sons on a tree. And Mordecai and Esther wrote the book of Esther and taught the Jews how to observe the mitzvah of Purim every year.